I'm Loryan Strant and welcome to another episode of Work From Home Warriors. I am joined with Anthony and Emma Rees this morning. Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
So I'm going to start with ladies first. So Emma, can you tell me a bit about your role and why working from home is possible and why you're not working from home today?
Well, I work for a global recruitment headhunting firm, and I sit within the learning and development team. The rest of my colleagues sit in Chicago, London and Amsterdam, and little old me here in Melbourne represents and looks after Asia Pac. So I'm the only one of my team in this part of the world. So it gives me the flexibility to work from home, but being a global firm, we do have an office here in Melbourne, and occasionally I will come in and work from the office, usually once or twice a week, probably no more than that. I've been with the firm for a long time, so this is sort of like my second family, and sometimes it's just kind of nice to come in and see them and, you know, utilize a kitchen that's fully stocked and a really good printer and video conferencing facilities that sometimes are perhaps better than what you have at home.
Makes sense. And Anthony, what about your role and what allows you to work from home?
Sure. So I work for an IT-based company. So they're a US startup essentially, and the closest office for me is actually in Seattle in the US. So it's the commute time obviously wouldn't work. Can't get home in time for dinner, obviously. So I work from home pretty much exclusively, except for when I'm traveling, which I do travel quite a lot for my role. There's 6 of us in the region, so 3 in Singapore and 3 based out of Australia. But the entire the company, we have more than 86% of our company that work from home. So they support a very strong working from home ethic, and all of the tools that we use allow us to be able to work from home, so which is great.
So between the two of you, given that you kind of both said that your team are remote, so how often do you kind of see the actual people you work with? So you said you're coming into the office, but your team is elsewhere. So how often do you actually physically see them? And same for yourself, Anthony.
I probably couldn't even tell you the last time I physically saw somebody in my team. I met my boss, as an example, for the first time in person last June of 2017, because I happened to be in Europe for a wedding and she was in London, and we finally met in person. I actually will have the pleasure of meeting her for the second time in December at a workshop that we're running in Singapore. So I basically never physically are with my immediate team members at all, except for video when we see each other that way.
Yeah. And what about yourself, Anthony? So, you know, we've kind of spoken previously about, you know, trips to Seattle.
Yep.
How often do you actually get to see your team over there?
So the worldwide team, I probably see twice a year on average, maybe 3 times a year sometimes. With my APAC family, because I hold a regional role, with APAC, probably the Australian team, probably every couple of weeks we'll see each other. And then the Singapore team, probably every couple of months, I'd catch up with them.
So how did the two of you find it? So given, like Emma, you were saying you haven't really, you know, it's been almost 18 months since you physically met your boss. Do you find that not having, you know, I guess that physical relationship, if you will, with your team, for want of a better term, more so as in like, hey, let's go grab some lunch kind of relationship. Do either of you find that to be a bit of a challenge, in that when you're on a call, it's, hey, let's talk work and then get off, and you don't really have that let's go out and do something kind of relationship?
Definitely. I mean, I connect weekly with my boss, weekly, usually by video as well, for, you know, 30 to 45 minutes once a week. Of course, we're in continue email communication though throughout the rest of the week on projects and things that are going on. But I suppose, yes, it is difficult to build that personal relationship that you have with people when you do see them on a day-to-day basis in an office. To be quite honest, I really know very little about her outside of work. And, you know, generally when we are on the phone or in meetings, you know, it can be odd times of the day. So you are conscious of people's times and you just want to get through the work and get it over, because it's usually might be dinner time for her, or it might be early in the morning and then I've got to get a child to school or make a lunch and that type of thing. So you can lose that, I suppose, personal aspect with people.
And what about yourself, Anthony? Like, how do you handle that, you know, that connection from your peers?
Our company is probably a little bit different to Emma's company because we are so supportive of work from home. So the organization does some pretty fun things. We always use video conferencing, and wherever possible, we ask our team members to turn their video on because it's a lot more personable when you can see people's face and their facial expression and things like that. We also do things like, as teams, we'll have catch-ups. So we'll often have. I'm part of the solution architecture team. We'll often have drinks, so which is kind of weird for me because in the US it's their Friday night, but for me it's Saturday morning. So I'm usually having a coffee. It's not really appropriate to have a beer at 9 a.m. on Saturday morning.
You don't put a shot of whiskey in the coffee?
Generally not, no. So we try to do things like that. There's often once a month there's a games night, which is the morning for me, and so they'll do lots of online type gaming to get people involved. You can play board games online. There's lots of different things that you can do. Sometimes they play things like Pictionary and stuff like that, which is kind of fun to do. So they try and encourage us to get more involved with each other and learn more about each other. I find that a lot of people that I work with, this is not the first work from home job that they've had. For me, this is actually my second work from home job. So once you've done it for a little bit longer, I think you get used to the fact that you're going to be talking to your boss over video conference, and we don't use email as internally as a company. We use asynchronous messaging. So we actually use Slack, for example, and I find that's really great because we have so many different channels that not all of them are work-related channels. A lot of them can be, our team fun channel, so you can post interesting things in there, and you do learn quite a lot about your colleagues. But of course, I think there's always something to be said for face-to-face and meeting people face-to-face. But yeah, we try as much as we can to do what we can over video.
Well, so given that both of you have, I guess you talked about that video communication and you generally both work from home, how do you handle the isolation from your teams? Is that a kind of a non-issue because you've got each other throughout the day, or, tell me about
that. We have each other. That's lovely. Yes, we do. It's actually kind of rare, though, in a lot of respects, for us to actually both be home working at the same time. Anthony has a pretty intensive travel schedule, so quite often I am at home on my own and he's wherever he is in this world. But then when we are there, it is nice. It can clash sometimes because if you can see behind Anthony is my desk, and if we both happen to be on a meeting or a video call at the same time, you can see it gets very difficult. There has been times where Anthony's disappeared out to, like the kitchen or the dining table. I've been in my 6-year-old daughter's bedroom before on her desk because, we've just needed to sort of separate for whatever reason. We have a cat. The cat comes in occasionally and will make an appearance on video calls as well. But I suppose I am lucky that I do have an office here in Melbourne. I've worked with the firm for 14 years, 8 of those in the role that I'm in now, but before that I worked day in, day out in the office with these people. So whilst I don't need to come into the office, sometimes it is just nice, and especially if he is travelling a lot, to kind of come in and have some of that people interaction with some other people.
And so how do the two of you handle the daily routine? Because I guess for the people who are watching this wouldn't realise that our kids go to the same school. So I've seen the two of you sometimes walking your daughter to school. I've seen either just one or the two of you. So what does your daily routine look like around the parental duties or around your work, especially given that you work across different time zones?
We've got a bit of a rule between the two of us that one of us travels. We are never both away at the same time unless absolutely necessary, and you can probably count over this year, maybe that's been 1 or 2 nights throughout the year. So there is usually one of us at home. Each week looks totally different. There is no set routine. As of last week, Anthony was home all of this week, and as of yesterday, he is now away for the next two days. So it changes all the time, and it's just, okay, well, the person who is at home, if somebody else is travelling, it is your responsibility to look after that child and make sure that she gets to school and somebody picks her up and brings her home. We have very helpful, reliable family as well. We're both very lucky that both grandmas are at the drop of a hat. If we need them, we'll pick her up, have her for a sleepover if need be, and are there to sort of help out, on those odd occasions where we can't make it work.
And the basic rule that we have, I think, is that whoever gets in the calendar first gets to travel. So if Emma is a lot more organized than I am. Well, let's just say that I have last minute travel requirements
right.
more than often. It's the norm. It seems like, whereas Emma will know like a month in advance that she's going to Singapore or she's going wherever, and then I basically just block my calendar out for my colleagues, so that we know that I have a no travel during that time, because as Emma correctly said, we always make sure that one of us is home for our daughter.
Makes sense. One of the things that Megan and I do is we've got a recurring appointment on 8 p.m. on Sundays, is to basically stand at the fridge with our phones out and look at the calendar, who's doing drop-offs, pick-ups, swim class, all those kind of things. So I guess, can you tell me, both of you, what kind of hours do you keep then? Obviously, I know the Seattle time is, as you said before, is, their afternoon is our morning the next day. But do you find yourselves kind of trying to keep an 8:30 to 5:30 style day in general, or just work whenever?
No.
It's a kind of whenever. I'm a bit like Anthony. So my team sits in Chicago and they sit in London. At the moment, it is great working with the states that we are on daylight savings. We get a lot more time in our morning, which is their afternoon. Occasionally, I have team calls that we have to cover those 3 points in the world, and that gets messy. So for half of the year, sometimes I can be up at 6:30 in the morning in my pajamas on a call, no video on those days. And then the reverse, for the rest of the year, I start calls at like 9:30 at night, and then I might, work through till 11:30 at night. Because I am a one-woman show in APAC, I have the ability to kind of do what I want when I want, and in a lot of respects, I work my calendar around our daughter so that I can take her up to school and I can pick her up in the afternoon. And yes, I might come back and then I might spend some time with her, cook her dinner, she might eat, and then I will go back and keep working later on in the night as well. So no, it is not a typical, 9 to 5 or whatever hours you want to call it job for me at all.
So how do you find your kind of mental shutdown period? You know, because I guess a lot of people go to work, you know, come back, cook dinner for their kids, put them down, then sit down and watch TV and kind of shut off for the night. Is it, as a result, do you find that, you know, you're both kind of never not working?
Unfortunately, my phone dings every time an email comes through. Right. And I know it will start dinging around sort of 7 o'clock at night, because I know that's when like my colleagues in London are coming on. And sometimes, yes, you do want to shut off. You don't want to answer it, but sometimes taking that 10 minutes to have a look at that email then and responding may then get you the answer that you need overnight while you are asleep, as opposed to losing another 24 hours perhaps trying to get a piece of information. So I find I keep checking the phone, unfortunately, and I don't switch off.
Makes sense.
But
yeah, but we have a lot of flexibility though, right, Em? So
yeah.
You know, to your point, we'll usually wake up in the morning and probably spend 15 minutes on our phones replying to the US, because that's where the time zone works, and then it'll be all about getting ready for school and for the day and things like that. And then usually you do your normal work during the day. Then one of us has to do school pickup. You know, although I admit, because I travel so much, Emma does the brunt of that. And then once we've done school pickup and got dinner ready and things like that, and then you know, done the school readers and the rest of the homework that you need to do, then it's sort of ramped down, get ready for bed, and then I usually jump back on and do an hour or so, because I work with Singapore so much. I'll often find that they're online till at least 8-9 o'clock at night, our time. So you can get in there and sort of do an hour or so, but it's all swings and roundabouts, right? You've got the flexibility to do things when you need to be able to do them, but at the same time, like you said, your working time might be stretched out, and I'll often be doing a little bit of work early in the morning and a little bit of work late at night. But these are the types of roles that we're in. So
yeah. As I said, it's a lot of that is swings and roundabouts. There's gives and gets. So I guess a question then about your personal working style. So do you tend to prefer to work in silence, or with some background music playing, or is that not an option because sometimes both of you are there at home, so you kind of can't decide which music to play, or what does that look like?
If I'm home on my own, I don't tend to put music on. I probably should. It would be nice to have it coming in from the background or something. I probably would not have it directly in the room with me, but I tend to generally work in silence. I don't know why, but it's not a conscious decision. I don't think. It's just sort of how it ends up playing, because I find I will do some work, and again, the luxury of working from home, you might go, I'm just going to put that load of washing on, and I might then go off and do that, and then I might come back again and it finishes, or I'll go and hang that out. And so I'm kind of up and down, moving around a lot, and I think that's my entertainment in itself there, rather than having music on in the background.
Fair enough. What about yourself, Anthony?
I pretty much always have music on, in some respect. So if Emma's not home, I'll be streaming some music through the house, and if Emma's home, then I'll often use like my Bluetooth headphones or whatever to stream through what I want to listen to. But and then I just switched it off so that I could come onto this call. But I've usually got music playing.
Yeah, makes sense, and I think it's an interesting point, because, for example, I find if I go into an office and there's music, I can't stand it, because it's all of a sudden I've been sitting in silence for so long. Yet when Megan works from home, she tends to put headphones on and just stream stuff off YouTube straight into her ears, and do whatever work she wants. So, and I'll sit there next to her in silence. So I guess tell me like what your desk setups are. So I can kind of see a little bit of Emma's desk setup. Have you got, dual screens, keyboards, mouse, all these kind of fancy things, or is it kind of simple?
So my desk at home is basically a replica of here in my office. So just behind Anthony there is actually two quite large monitors. And I have unfortunately, I cart a laptop back and forth, and I just dock in whether I'm at home or I'm in the office. I use two monitors all the time in my role. I do a lot of remote presenting to our internal clients, and so I need the flexibility of having that there. You can see there's just a little camera mounted to the top of the monitor there as well, and basically the office that I'm sitting in here, which again I have the luxury of an office that is kept for me here in Melbourne, and it is basically identically set up as well here.
Okay. And Anthony, what about you? What's your ideal kind of setup that you've got there?
Yeah, so we run in terms of internet connectivity. So we run just a standard cable internet connectivity. Our router has a 4G backup on it. So if the internet goes down, it automatically switches over to a 4G SIM card,
Nice.
so that we've got some form of redundancy, which is kind of good. We've also run Cat6 LAN cables throughout the house as well. So that our study where I'm in at the moment, Emma has her own dedicated LAN cable, and I've got mine too, so that we can plug into them if we need the higher bandwidth for video calls and things like that. In terms of my setup on my desk, I run 3 monitors, so 2 monitors plus my laptop. I run a Mac setup for my work, and in terms of my monitors, I run one in standard format, and then because I write a lot of code and things like that, I also have one of my monitors set up in a vertical position on its side, so that I can get all of my my notes and code and get it in a nice high format, so I don't have to keep paging and scrolling and things like that.
So with your kind of setups, and you both talked about how the monitors and that it's a comfortable environment. When you do have to work from somewhere else in the house, be it, I guess the bedroom, the kitchen, do you ever find those to be comfortable, or are they just kind of interim until you can get back into the home office?
Interim.
Yeah, interim.
We've call on sitting in bed before with the laptop, and
yeah, it doesn't work.
It didn't work. So no, it's only a very interim thing when I physically have to move out, because there might be a clash of our schedule.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah, and we usually coordinate it too. So if Emma's presenting and she needs dual monitors, then I'll leave, and if I'm presenting and I need dual monitors, then she'll leave.
Right.
Yeah, but if we're not presenting and things like that, it doesn't really matter where you do the calls from.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah,
and quite often, if it's just an internal meeting and I am on video, the fact that he's sitting behind me and they can see him, it makes no difference. They don't care.
And same with me.
But we have had before where Anthony has been on video in a meeting, and I did not know, and I've just come in with the dressing gown on. Thank goodness I wasn't naked, but I've just kind of come in before with the dressing gown on to pick something up, and I'm like, oh, hi everybody, and kind of walk back out again. So, something you might need the little red light above the door or something, meeting program.
Like one of these.
Exactly. You can get on air. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got a separate video on these coming in, but I've got 2 of them, one for each desk, that basically flash red when I'm on a call. So the family knows not to come up to it, because as you can see, it's a glass door. So I've had occasionally a child just stand there while I've been on a video call, but also allows us to have different rules for Netflix, because our rule is if the kids are watching Netflix and the show finishes, they can't start another one unless they ask us, unless the red light is flashing, which means just keep going until the red light stops flashing.
Well, thank goodness for technology. Sometimes I must admit, especially if Anthony's away travelling and I'm on a call, technology, the iPad, whatnot, does become a bit of a babysitter for children. But, it is what it is.
Well, and that's the thing is as we've said, you got gives and gets. You got that flexibility where you can, walk them to school and be back at the desk by 9:15, whereas a lot of people have already kind of left the house at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
So, final question: could you, because both of you have worked from home for so long, and apologies if there's background noise, but there's one of the joys of working from home, as we talked about earlier, was I've got people installing an air conditioner next door, so I can hear them literally outside my window. Could either of you envisage ever going back to working from an office, either on a part-time or full-time basis?
Oh, if I didn't have a young child, possibly, but no. So I keep saying now I can never leave my job. I'm just stuck here now for the rest of my life. Look, I love what I do and everything, but I think going back to an office in a full-time capacity, I would really struggle to do that now.
I can understand. And Anthony, what about yourself? You're saying this is your second job that supported work from home. So could you go to a next job that was in the office full-time?
No, I don't think I could. No. It would have to have a large work from home component, and with the amount that I travel as well, it has to have a large work from home component, because I'm on the road so much and on planes and things like that. It's only fair that you get to spend that time with your family and the rest of the time you're basically traveling. So no, I'd have to have a work from home role, I think.
Yep, I completely understand. Well, Anthony and Emma, thank you very much for your time and for sharing your experiences from working from home. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Worries. See you at school pickup.
This afternoon, I guess. Yeah.
Yep.